The Mark is probably the earliest, written around 70 AD, so
70
about
AD,
40 years after Jesus died.
Yep.
Then you've got Matthew and Luke, which are written 10, 15 years after that. And John's Gospel, which is written 10 to maybe like 10, 15 years after that still.
Alex will say these dates are disputed. Atheists need a later date because they need time for the legend, in their opinion, of the divinity of Christ to develop, but these works were undoubtedly written much earlier. Josephus, the Jewish historian, not a Christian, will tell us it's the Emperor Claudius who will appoint Felix as the governor of Judea, who's later succeeded by Festus. Both are in the book of Acts, and St. Paul stands in front of, which puts the book of Acts at the earliest in the early 50s AD. But because it doesn't recount the martyrdom of St. Paul, James the Just, the Jewish revolt, the destruction of Jerusalem, then it had to have been composed no later than about 62 AD. And since the book of Acts is very clearly the second book of Luke, we know that from the shared prologue about Theophilus, as well as extra biblical accounts such as St. Irenaeus, the Muratorian fragment. And so we can say pretty confidently then that the Gospel of Luke was written around the early 50s, mid 50s AD. And since the Gospel of Matthew is very similar to it, doesn't include anything more in the future than Luke does, and since even Alex admits that the Gospel of Mark was written first, that places the majority of the Gospels as written well before 70 AD, with no time to become legendary accounts. And even if we throw out the Gospel of John when looking at the question of the divinity of Christ, in Mark it's very clear that Jesus claims to be God when he says, "I am who am," in front of the high priest. That's the name of God as revealed in Exodus 3:14, the ego eimi, and the high priest reacts by tearing his garments in blasphemy, which he would only do if Jesus was claiming to be God, which in fact he did.